Hey everybody, it's me Jessica, your health fitness program manager from McLean, and I'm here today for another amazing mind-body connection. We're just gonna focus on breath, movement, relaxation. As always, bring any props that you think you might need. More likely to possibly want to use a block or something if you have trouble reaching the floor in some of your forward folds. Just gonna rise up the bird real fast. Hey, why are you so mean lately? You're a mean lady. Nobody likes a mean lady. Look at me. Nobody likes a mean lady, Fred. Now you just get 2 peanuts because you made me drop one. Try not to be a jerk during class, okay? All right. That goes for all of us. Let's be nice to ourselves during class. So if you find that you're moving through the practice and it's just not honoring you today, stop. Maybe just come back into Sukhasana, Savasana, Child's Pose. Find a posture that does work for you. Just take a couple moments coming back to your breath, to your stillness. Think about why you came to class today. And if you're still feeling a little overwhelmed or just meh, then stop. Come back to it later. No one likes a workout that they're forced to do. So I want to make sure that you're here by choice, that you're feeling good, that you're coming into your breath. Might, as we move around, opening the heart, finding movement can be very emotionally releasing. So please feel those feelings. Take time to hang out in your breath a little bit longer and just keep breathing and being your beautiful selves. Okay, we're going to start in 3 minutes, and I think today we'll start in Child's Pose. Yeah, we'll start in Child's Pose. So feel free to grab some water if you want, to put on some music if you like to. I've lost all of my timers just now. I don't even see. Don't worry. Trader Joe's room spray. Giving me all the feels. Okay. So I'll see you on our mat in 3 minutes. Do whatever feels good for you before then. I'm gonna work to turn off all the things that make noise. All right, 1 minute till we get started. It's a little dark in here. What if I move this? Does that make it look vivid? Nope. Jessica. Okay, take your time. Let's come on down to our mats, especially if you're here early. There's no reason that you have to wait to get your practice started. And remember, it's just practice. If it gets weird, let it get weird. Do whatever. We're going to start off today in Child's Pose, so coming towards the back of our mat. You have that option to open your knees as much as you want to as you lower your belly down towards the floor, starting to bring your head down below heart's level. I'm going to put my hair up, the hair thing I didn't bring to my mat. So you might remember if you came, I think it was Yin last week, that we did some very wide-legged child's poses to get a little bit more into the hips. If that felt really good for you, if you want to get more of like a froggy child's pose and bring those big toes together and spread those legs out nice and wide, find what feels good for you. That's a little much for me to get started with. I'm feeling pretty tight. My shoulders are feeling really tired. So I'm going to bring my hands all the way back towards my heels just to really allow my back to open a little bit more. Maybe you decided to keep your arms all the way forward, a little bit more active stretch on those shoulders into your lower back. Maybe you went with bending your arms. Maybe you even made a pillow with your hands so that your head feels comfortable. So many great options. I really want you just to make sure that you're doing what feels best for your body. Doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. Doesn't matter what you did yesterday. Doesn't matter what you're going to do tomorrow. The beautiful thing about yoga is it really is about what can you do right now. And so many things in our life are not really about the right now. You're working towards what's going to happen in the future, thinking about deadlines for work or personal deadlines you might have set in life, and now's the time to just let that all go, to truly just be the amazing person, being that you are. Even if you just feel like a blob, be the most amazing blob you can be. And right now, just focus on being a breathing something, something. Starting off in a child's pose gives us an opportunity to really bring our breath to the back side of the body. So notice on your inhale the expansion of your rib cage at the back. And on the exhale, just how your belly can sink a little bit more towards your thighs, maybe even your hips sink a little bit more towards your heels. With your head down on the mat, perhaps you even are starting to notice a little bit of your heart beating with the pressure of your forehead against the mat and the moments of your stillness and your breath. Let's take 3 more breaths right here. Take your time, bring your hands, palms underneath of your shoulders. Ooh, gently press yourself up into tabletop. You can open those knees a little bit wider. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Create some space between each of your fingers, and then actively press the pads of your fingers into the floor, your hands, palms into the floor. And from here, let's just gently, once again, send your hips back towards your heels, and then bring yourself up into tabletop. So taking some time here to just warm those wrists up. Perhaps you've spent a lot of time already today or this week sitting at your desk, typing, emails. So congratulations for creating this time for yourself. I know as I've been meeting with many people, getting some quality chats on for our Rock Your Resolution Challenge. Next time you're in tabletop, flip those hands over. So point your fingers towards your knees and press the backs of your hands into the floor, and then keep doing the same thing. You might notice a much smaller range of motion though. I've been talking with a lot of people who really tell me that they feel so guilty about scheduling their you time, about taking time away from their desk. Let's go ahead, sit our hips back on our heels, lift your hands up off the floor for a second, make some circles with your wrist in one direction, and as you're ready, we'll change the direction of the circles. And I really just want to talk to you about encouraging you to feel good about making this you time. It's gonna make you a more productive version of yourself. Make some fists. All of your anger, anxiety, whatever stressful feelings in those fists, squeeze, 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 squeeze. And then let it go. Let's do that 3 more times. Really focus on squeezing. Even make the internal stress feelings that you have go Hulk on yourself. Just let it go 1 more time. Maybe even shake a little with your anger. Let it go. Okay, let's come on back onto our wrist and tabletop. This time, turning your fingertips in towards each other, just taking a little gentle rock side to side. I totally am not going to pretend like I haven't had times in my life where things just seemed really overwhelming. Work, school, family, relationships, personal, yada, yada, yada. And yeah, I totally get feeling guilty, like it's not fair, like you're being selfish for taking that time for yourself. And I also reflect back on those times. Turn your hands over, still fingers facing towards each other, same thing. And man, I was not happy. Was I unhappy because I was so burdened and overwhelmed by life? Maybe. All right, hands back to tabletop. But I also think that I was just unhappy because I didn't make that time for myself. Let's go for some cat-cow. So really press your hands palms into the floor. Find that engagement of your arms. Your biceps are engaged. Maybe you even feel your triceps. Start to pull your lower belly back towards your spine. So some contraction of the abdominal cord. And then squeeze those shoulder blades together and then down your back to create some length already, a nice flat back, length through the crown of your head. We're going to keep our arms straight, almost locked, engaged the whole time. Take your time, tuck your chin towards your chest, look towards your knees, and come on into cat. Come into the biggest cat that you can. Maybe even shake your hips a little. Finding some teeny wiggles in your hips and your shoulders. And when you're ready, with those arms still straight, your chest and belly release down towards the floor, and then gently pull through as you look up. Find as much arching in your back as possible. Maybe even spreading your sit bones, stretching your glutes, those inner thighs towards the wall behind you, and then change. Moving with your own breath, taking your full breath, whether you're moving on the inhale or the exhale. You don't want to and have so much breath left. Work on matching your movement, the pace of your movement with the pace of your breath. I've been practicing yoga for over 9 years now. And honestly, I only have paid for yoga for 1 year of my life. Walk those hands forward. We're going to come into a cobra. So just releasing the pubic mound down towards the floor. You can walk those feet out a little bit wider. You can walk your hands a little bit wider if things are still feeling really tight. If that's uncomfortable, you can even come on down to Sphinx. I'm going to stay nice and lifted to get this big stretch on my belly. Anyway, I've only paid for yoga 1 year of my life. It was incredibly expensive, and while I was in grad school, and while I normally would go almost every single day, I made it 3 times in the entire year. Go ahead, tuck those toes under, send your hips up towards the ceiling. Maybe walk your hands back to your feet or your feet up to your hands as we take a moment here in down dog. Work to get the big stretches on the back of your calves, and also work to bring your belly towards your thighs so your biceps come between your ears. Anywho, I was in grad school,
getting my master's in health promotion management, and ironically taking the worst care of myself in my entire life. Let's go ahead and walk those feet up towards your hands or your hands towards your feet. You can take that generous bend of the knees. If the floor still feels really far away, place your hands on a prop here so you can feel a little bit supported, but work to bring the belly to the knees, even sending your hips towards the back of the room to take that unsupported dangle away. That is so uncomfortable on your back if you can't bring your belly towards your thighs. So think a little bit more towards chair pose, like you're really reaching towards a chair with some like potentially terrible, if we were actually doing squats, I would say lift your chest, but we're not, so allow your chest to hang down to the floor. Oh, anyway, after that year of paying for it, never going to yoga and laughing about how ridiculous it was that I was going to school to encourage people to feel good about themselves, and I was never taking the time to feel good about myself. I really thought about how to make me a priority. Slowly roll yourself up, one vertebrae at a time. At the top, stack your head over your heart and your shoulders over your hips. Roll those shoulders down and back. Open your chest. Maybe even turn your hands, palms forward to the front of the room. Squeeze your glutes in. Press your hips forward so that your body is stacked in a nice line. Your heels are pressed and engaged down with the floor. Notice if you're rolling to the outsides of or the insides of your feet, and work to find some equal pressure on the floor below you. Anyway, my whole long point there was the same way that you make time for everyone else, the same way that you make dinner or find a way to eat, or maybe that's something you're working on too. Make time for your exercise, for your movement, because it will make you feel good. All right, let's inhale those arms up overhead. And then just exhale, relax them down by your side. You're still squeezing your glutes, pressing those hips forward. So we're working to take that extra arching out of our back right here. There's no cat or cow, belly pulled in tight. Inhale up, exhale down. 2 more times, inhale up. Oh, exhale down. Last time, let's go ahead, just inhale up. Turn those thumbs towards the back of the room. One arm at a time, starting with that right arm. So left arm stretches up towards the ceiling and right arm reaches down maybe towards the back of the thigh. Maybe even bringing your lower rib a little closer towards your hip, and then back up towards the ceiling, and then exhale. Other hand reaches down nice and far and inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Let's go ahead, got one more time on each side. So waking up that side body a little, make sure your belly is still pulled in. When you come back towards the top, ground those feet, squeeze your glutes once more, pushing those hips forward, belly nice and tight, shoulders relaxed away from your ears. So the length up to the ceiling is coming from your waist. All 5 fingers touching each other, stretch up towards the ceiling, belly tight. Let's go ahead, swan dive down to the floor below us. Go ahead, inhale up into a half lift. Your fingers can release off the floor. Maybe they come to your thighs or even to your shins as you find a nice flat back stretch from your sacrum, stretch from the crown of your head, and then exhale. Release yourself back down towards the floor. Go ahead, step your right leg back behind you, coming into a nice big lunge, and we're just going to release it down to the floor. You can untuck those toes and lift yourself up, and then shift the weight forward to get a nice big stretch in that right hip flexor. Maybe even feeling a bit of a stretch in the left leg, in the hamstring, in the quad, just depending on how tight you're feeling. Think about really keeping your hips squared to the front of the mat. So that back knee is really pressing down into the floor and finding this nice little push forward. You can stay lifted. If you're not feeling it still, you can always release those hands down to the floor in front of you. Take 2 more breaths right here, and then we're going to shift it back to come into that big hamstring and a little calf stretch. So walking your hands back towards your knee, work to start to straighten out that front leg. If you're matching with me, straightening out that left leg. The more that you flex your toes towards the face, the more you're going to bring the stretch into the back of the calf, and the more that you round yourself down and bring your knee towards the nose, really brings a little extra stretch into that glute. So just find what feels good for you today. Maybe you're using your blocks or whatever you have around you to stay nice and lifted, to stay gentle in the stretch. Still working to stretch those hips back behind you. Maybe even seeing how low you can, feeling that more towards that inner thigh. How low you can release those glutes towards the floor. Just have some fun. Take 2 more breaths. And then let's go ahead, shift that weight forward one more time, come into that big hip opener. Feel free to use your prop here. We're going to find a nice open twist. If you have trouble getting that hand to the floor, if it's a little too intense, stay lifted here with your prop to find a twist. Right hand stays down on the floor. Press into that hand palm, shoulder released away from your ears, and stretch your left arm up towards the ceiling. Really open up your chest as if there's an imaginary wall behind you, and the backs of your fingers are going to touch that imaginary wall, still shifting that weight forward to find that opening of your right hip flexor. Take 1 more deep inhale, and on your exhale, release your hand back down towards the floor. I'm releasing my hand to the inside of my foot, tucking that right toe under, lifting myself up, and then shift the weight forward. Same thing 1 more time, just a little bit more active. Go ahead, stretch your left hand fingertips up towards the ceiling. Use your exhale to release them down towards the floor. Next inhale, go ahead, step your right leg up to meet with the left. Come into a nice half lift once again. Exhale, relax yourself down towards the floor, forward fold. And then slowly, gently, take a moment, we'll release, roll ourselves up. Inhale, arms up overhead, bring your palms together. And exhale them down to heart center. Taking a moment right here in our stillness. Be sure to include your eyes in your stillness. So you're breathing. Involuntary movement that comes with the breath is fine. Resist the urge to fix your hair, to fix your shirt, to fix your pants. Sometimes that's what the yoga is all about too. We come here so that we can find ways to use this practice to make us feel good on the outside world, and so frequently it helps us in those moments where we become uncomfortable. And it can bring attention to when you do turn towards fidgeting, instead of just turning towards your breath to help you quiet your mind and feel more comfortable. Let's go ahead and get that other side. So once again, grounding your feet into the floor. Really take notice, heels, ball of the feet under big toe, under pinky. Engage with the floor, glutes are squeezed, hips are pressed forward, belly tight. Inhale, stretch up towards the ceiling. Exhale, belly pulled in, swan dive or rain down to the floor in front of you. Inhale into that nice long half lift, shoulders pull from ears, flat back, find some length, and then exhale back into your forward fold. This time we're going to step the left leg back, left leg goes back, and then release that knee down towards the floor. Untuck your back toe. You can shift your front foot forward if you need to, working to get that knee stacked about on top of the arch of your foot or the ankle. You don't want it too far behind you. You're not going to feel the stretch in the hip flexor. You don't want it too far forward just because we're trying to be smart with our body today. If you're feeling it up here, great. If you need to hinge forward just a little bit more, make sure you're not opening your hips towards the side, that you have your back leg extended, really working to squeeze a little bit of your left glute as you push those hips forward. Remember, both sides of the body are different, so what feels great on one side might not feel as awesome on the other. You can always use this prop if you need to, if the floor feels far away. Take 2 more breaths, and then we're going to send our glutes back towards our heels. So taking that nice little walk back. Remember, the closer that you bring your knee towards the nose, the deeper that you're going to feel this stretch. So unlike our standing forward fold, when I tell you don't have any space between your belly and your thigh, you can have some space here if you need to. You can be as lifted as you need to, maybe even using that prop, focusing more on flexing those toes back towards your face. What's happening with your glutes? Are you shifting big time over towards your stabilizing leg? Oh, find what feels good. Move around just a little bit and then move into the stillness that you can create with your body, with your mind, with your breath, with your eyes. So many things working together. 2 more breaths right here. Beautiful. Once again, go ahead, shift the weight forward. Take your time. Coming back into that big hip opener. You can use the block if you need to. Feeling a little more tight on this side. I am going to use it before we find that lift with our right hand fingertips towards the sky. What's happening with your chest and shoulder? Find some length. Always work to create that length before you come into the stretch. Your right foot is ground with the floor. Left foot is ground with the mat. Inhale, right arm up towards the ceiling. Find the rotation that works for you today. Think about stacking that right shoulder on top of the left, of squeezing your shoulder blades towards each other to help make it happen, of turning your chin. Relaxing your jaw is going to help you to get your chin a little bit more in line with your shoulder. Ooh, big stretch. Take 1 more deep inhale, and on your exhale, release it back down. Take a big couple of breaths right here. Get ready to find a little bit of balance. So tucking your left toes under, pressing into the ball of the foot, lifting up off of the floor, shifting the weight forward once more, and then inhaling, right arm up towards the ceiling. Take that big inhale. On your exhale, release it back down. Go ahead, press into the back ball of the foot. Keep a lot of weight in your front heel as you step those feet together. Come into your nice half lift. Exhale all the way down into forward fold once more. From here, let's go ahead, heel toe those feet out nice and wide, about mats with distance apart, maybe wider. And then with your heels turned in, turn those toes out. Let's come on down into a squat. Take your time, start bringing more weight towards your heels. How low can you get your tuchus today? What's happening with your feet? You want to work towards equally putting some weight through all of your feet. So notice if you're rolling towards the inside or outside of those feet. When I come down, I find it really comfortable too to warm up my lower half a little bit more, shifting the weight from side to side. So I'm bringing the weight into the ball of my left foot, right foot on the floor, and then switching, dropping one knee down and then the other, finding a little bit more of a dynamic stretch before we come into that static stretch. Now, if you're still having trouble getting those glutes low, you can always have those glutes nice and high. You can also think about using a prop. Finding a prop, sitting down on something will probably make it, let's be safe here, probably make it a little bit easier to reach down towards the floor. Maybe you even find that you need to sit on an actual chair and just find that little bit of a forward lean. Apply some pressure of your elbows in towards the floor. If you're sitting down on something, think about opening those knees more out towards the side, getting that big stimulation outside of the glutes as well. Let's take 3 more breaths here. We're going to do 1 more dangle, 1 more squat. Dangle and squat are some of the best stretches that we can do as desk people. Right now, getting a huge stretch in our hip flexors, which get really tight from sitting all the time. And then we're gonna stand up and get another big stretch on the back of our legs, on our hamstrings. All of these things can also help us to alleviate a tight lower back. So bring your hands to the floor, shift the weight forward, bring yourself up, and heel toe your feet in a little bit closer, about hips width distance apart. You can bring that bend back to your knees. You can send your hips back towards the back of the room to take some of the intensity out of your hamstring stretch. If it's feeling good, you can shift the weight a little bit more forward in your toes, starting to gently spiral those inner thighs towards the back of the room. And then use these next couple of breaths to allow your head to hang heavy down towards the floor. Take notice of what's happening with your neck. Are you bringing any extra tension into your neck, trying to look forward? Think about looking down at the space between your two toes, as opposed to the space behind your legs, so you don't create too much tucking of your chin to your chest either. Take 2 more breaths right here. And then, with time, walk those feet out a little bit further. Go ahead, sit yourself back down into your squat. As you get there, work to lift that chest up. Remember, it is just practice. It is not perfect, but I promise you, if you continue to put the time into your practice, you will notice a difference. Odds are high, if you play an instrument, you didn't sit down and play the instrument perfectly the first time. I bet it sounded pretty bad. So if you feel like your yoga postures are just not looking like you thought they would, ask yourself, how much time do you put into your practice? Is it truly something that is regular? This feels so good. All right, once again, let's go ahead and bring our hands towards the floor. Bring the weight into the balls of your feet. Send your hips up towards the ceiling. Go ahead, turn your toes forward so your heels are invisible behind your toes. Keep your right hand down on the floor, about underneath of your heart or chest. You can shift a little bit more weight forward. You can keep that bend of your knees if you need to, and inhale your left hand up towards the ceiling. If you want to find a little bit more opening of your chest, use your exhale to bend at that left elbow. Bring your fingertips close by your right hip, and then draw your left back of the elbow towards the right side of the room. On your next inhale, send left arm up towards the ceiling. Exhale it down towards the floor. Maybe shake it out. Shake your head left and right. Oh, feels good. Keep your left hand down on the floor. Replace it where the right hand was, and inhale, right arm up towards the ceiling. Still working to draw shoulders away from ears, shoulder blades towards each other, seated down your spine. Stretch all 5 fingers up towards the ceiling of your right hand. Have your fingers touch next to each other. Press into the palm on the floor. You can find that extra opening of your chest. Use your exhale to bend at the elbow. Draw the back of the arm towards the left side of the room. Take 1 more deep inhale. On your exhale, reach up towards the ceiling, down towards the floor. Coming into our deepest standing stretch of the day. This time, turn your fingers towards the back of the room. Use that breath to slowly walk your hands back. You might even want to take a bend of your knees. Walk your hands back. And then see if you can lift your legs up a little bit higher. Bend your knees. See if you can walk your hands back. Inhale, lift those legs up a little bit higher. Try 1 more time. And then slowly, gently drag those fingers forward. Let's go ahead, bend our knees. Bring them back down to the floor. We'll take a moment right here in kneeling. Arms relaxed down by your side. You might remember the other day we did a little bit of shoulder opening. So while we're sitting here and kneeling, if kneeling's really uncomfortable, you can always come into a cross-legged position. We're going to take a moment, inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, relax your arms down by your side and then bring them behind you. Turn your hands into fists and bring those knuckles together. If you can't quite make your knuckles touch each other, that's okay, just bringing the backs of your fists to your back. Try to resist the urge to overarch your back. So instead of really pushing that belly out, pull that belly in. Find that same stacking that you did of your head over your heart, over your hips, and work to draw those elbows back gently. Take one more big inhale. Now on your exhale, release those hands down to the floor behind you. Let's come into some nice big ankle stretches, a nice stretch of the quads as well. Starting off, let's just press those knees down towards the floor. Squeeze your glutes, hips forward. And then exhale as your glutes come back towards your heels. Lift one knee up. Lift the other knee up. Let's get one more of each of those on both sides. And then once again, press the shins into the floor. Squeeze your glutes. Lift those hips up. Like a modified camel heart opener. And then exhale, release yourself back down towards the floor. One more big stretch for those ankles. Okay, next up, sit yourself up. We're going to go ahead, shift ourselves over to the left and come into deer pose. So bringing the sole of the left foot into the top of the right thigh bicep. Work to relax that right glute back down towards the floor. You can bring this foot as close to the center line of your body as you want to. Bringing it in really close, I feel more of that stretch on my quad. Bringing it a little farther away, I feel a little bit more of a stretch on the outside of the leg. So just find what feels good for you. If sitting up, if that stretch is too intense, you can always find a little bit of a spine twist here in your deer pose. I'm gonna go for a little combo. Sitting up nice and straight, so you really focus on that stretch within my hip, within my quad, within my glute, and also that beautiful spine twist. All right, if you did not come into the spine twist, you'll get an opportunity now. We're gonna turn towards that left leg and come into pigeon. So you can control the depth of your pigeon by how parallel your top leg is with the top of the mat. The more that you have your heel close towards your hip, the less intense that this stretch is going to be. Resist the urge this time of working to sit that opposite glute down. So we don't want the front leg glute. If you're mirroring me, we don't want that left leg glute to come towards the floor. You want to think about bringing your right hip flexor a little closer towards the mat. And you can stay lifted right here, or you can feel it even deeper by coming down towards those forearms. Feel free to relax your head, find what feels good, maybe shaking a little yes or no, left or right, just taking that tiny motion in that upper body to relax upper body and shoulders, to maybe help us get a little bit deeper into our lower body. Great, take 2 more breaths right here. Awesome. Gently walk yourself back in, coming into a modified deer pose. Roll onto your glutes. Roll the soles of the feet to the floor. Get your knees up nice and high. And you can take a moment right here and just windshield wipe side to side. Or maybe you want to extend your legs out, shake it out, find what feels good for you. It's your body. You know it's going to help you feel relaxed. So make it happen right now. And then move with intention to come into deer pose on the opposite side. So this time the right foot, sole of the right foot, is going to touch on the top of the left thigh bicep. You are working to get that left glute down to the mat. So take your time. Experiment around with what feels good with this extended back leg. Having the arch, the inner sole of the foot on the floor, or walking it back in, getting a little bit more of the top of the foot on the floor. Just finding what feels right for your body. Option to come into this side twist. So in deer pose, we are working to get both glutes towards the floor. Take a couple more breaths right here, and then we'll come into that pigeon. Remember, for pigeon, you want to not get both glutes on the floor. Focus more on getting those hip flexors towards the mat. All right, let's change. So bringing hands down in that twist. Remember, the more that your shin is parallel with the top of the mat, the deeper that you're going to feel the stretch coming into your front leg. We're focusing a little bit more on the hip opening that we're creating with that back leg. Oh, I mean, ask yourself, where do you feel this stretch today? Sometimes it really takes some time to identify and be able to engage the muscles in your body. When I first started working out with the personal trainer, we would do like bicep curls, and he would ask me, where do you feel this? And I would like point to my total wrong parts of the body. I just didn't understand. I just did not know how to get in touch with myself. Frequently, we are either hypermobile and we have to focus a little bit more on our strength, or we have a lot of strength, a lot of muscle tension, and we need to focus a little bit more on our flexibility. Yoga is a great marriage of those two. All right, change. Slowly take your time. Let's come back onto our glutes, and this time extend those legs out nice and wide for dragonfly. All right, you can open those legs as wide as you want to get that big stretch on your inner thighs. Pressing your heels into the floor and flexing your toes back towards the face. Notice if when you came into this one too, if the inner soles of the feet were turned down towards the floor, and think about your toes being thumbs, rolling them up, giving yourself that big thumbs up. You might even find that you need to bring your hands behind you, which is great. You get a nice little opening of the chest right here, and come back to finding that engagement of the belly. Notice if you were not pulling your belly in still, and if it feels good, you can always hinge forward. Hinging forward is just going to increase the intensity of the stretch, and I just encourage you to do so with a mindful back. Keep flexing those toes back towards your face. Keep giving yourself big toe thumbs up. All right, coming back towards the center. Let's inhale those arms up overhead. The right arm is going to go over to the left side up top, and the left arm is going to go over the right side to the bottom. So just find that big reach. On your exhale, inhale yourself back up to center. Exhale, right hand comes to the bottom. Left hand reaches to the right side. Let's get two more on each side. Inhale up. Exhale. Can you open your chest up towards the ceiling instead of the floor? Inhale up. Exhale, so your chin looks up towards the ceiling. Top shoulder is going back instead of down towards the floor. Inhale up. All you can do is your best. Just give it a try. One more time. Great work. Exhale, relax both of those arms down by your side. Let's go ahead, bring those legs in. I like to bob them in. Cool. And then we're slowly, gently just going to roll down our spines to come onto our backs. Let's get one more spine twist before we come into our final savasana. So stretch those arms out to the side. Go ahead, bend your knees. Get that lower back supported in the mat to begin with. Whichever side feels right that you want to turn to, I'm going to roll over to the right side. And use a couple exhales to slowly turn my chin over to the left. Take your time, see if you can use your breath to relax that left shoulder back down towards the mat. The more that you draw your top knee up towards your chest, maybe even extending through your lower leg heel, the more you start to bring the stretch through the spine back down to the glutes and the legs, maybe even a little bit of pressure of your top of your opposite hand on top of your bent knee. To come into the twist, take one more deep inhale and exhale. Slowly, gently roll over onto your back. If you extended one leg, go ahead, draw that opposite leg in. Press into your heels, shift yourself over onto your opposite hip and start with your bent knee spine twist. See if it feels good to use your exhale to bring your opposite shoulder, your chin to the opposite shoulder that your knees are pointing in. And if you still want a little extra stretch, drawing that top knee up towards your nose as you extend through your lower leg towards your heel. Oh, it feels beautiful. That's so fun. Take 2 more breaths right here. Shoulders relax away from ears, into the floor. Take this time to really start being supported by your mat as much as possible. As you exhale, roll over onto your back. This time, go ahead, extend those legs out as far as feels comfortable for you. If your back is feeling tired, think about keeping a nice little bend of your knees, maybe even tenting your feet together. You can open your arms, open your legs as wide as you want. Maybe just notice your heartbeat, notice your breath a little bit more. One hand on your heart, one hand on your belly as we come into our final savasana. And remember that savasana is also a posture, so please give it the same love and attention that you gave all of the other postures today. Continue to focus on yourself, on your breath. Remember why you came to class and do a little scan of your body from head to toe and just notice how you feel. Do you notice if you feel different? Man, I used to think people were weird when they said that after class. Do you feel different after yoga? Like, no, I didn't feel different. But with time, when I really did practice and work on using my breath to break up the tension in my body and my mind, yes, I do feel different after practice. I'm so much nicer. I feel like the world is my oyster. And it's amazing that taking away time from other things makes the time that you have to do them feel so much more capable. Because you gave yourself some self-love right here. I encourage you to stay here in this savasana for as long as feels good for your body today. If you would like to close up our practice together, take your time, move with intention. Let's come up to a seated position. When you arrive, go ahead, bring your hands, palms to heart center with your thumbs touching on your sternum. Just notice your beautiful heartbeat and self. If you have any questions or concerns about anything that we said or did today, please reach out. In the meantime, I encourage you to think good thoughts, to speak good words, to eat good foods, and do good deeds to nourish yourself from the inside and out. Bring your thumb up to your third eye, your drishti. Pull your belly in, stretch those elbows up towards the ceiling, lift your beautiful face, and know that the light within me honors and sees the light within you. Thank you so much for coming and joining me. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Namaste.